Hello everyone, this is GameFrost. In today's tutorial video, what I'm going to be showing you today is how to improve your laptop's battery life by assigning processes into your Nvidia DGPU. So the gist of this entire situation stems from, of course, Nvidia Optimus. And as you know, Nvidia Optimus has been much of a finicky feature that people would either have problems with over the past couple of years. You know, some people would say that it could cause visual issues. Others claim that it basically depletes their battery life because the GPU is not working properly in sync with the iGPU. Nvidia Optimus is basically going with the iGPU and of course the DGPU, and they just work together to make an efficient system. But sometimes efficiency is not really presented here because in my case I'm running an HP Victus 16. I believe it's a 2023 model, and it houses a Ryzen 7 8845HS CPU plus an RTX 4060. The 8845HS comes with a 780M iGPU, and that was used as the primary display. So for all the other tasks, all of it would go to the iGPU when it's on idle. But because it's using the iGPU on idle, what would happen is that the RTX 4060 would kind of go crazy in a sense that the power draw, you would see power readings of 588 watts, 590 watts, and that's clearly a bug because there's no way a mobile chip could go to 590 watts. And you'll also see high idle clocks, meaning that it would go to a P0 state. That's literally game clocks. So it would be like 2 gigahertz plus. The memory would go up to the maximum speed. Sometimes it would go through a wake and sleep cycle, meaning that the GPU would constantly go to sleep and then wake up, which would also sip power. And this would cause my laptop battery to deplete very quickly, to the point where I could only use my laptop for at least like an hour and 30 minutes from 100%. So, with the gist out of the way, how I found the solution to this problem was through endless amounts of troubleshooting and searching on the internet. You know, both Nvidia and HP would literally tell you to just reinstall your drivers, or basically install OEM drivers, or make sure that your power settings are configured correctly, and other stuff. And lo and behold, none of these work. And a matter of fact, if I go to graphics switcher and I switch to discrete, it does somewhat solve my problem. It basically made my GPU reach idle power draw, which is around like maybe 1 to 3 watts. But the problem was I couldn't have VRR enabled or G-Sync. Apparently this laptop's monitor does not support G-Sync or whatever, so I had to switch back to hybrid to get all of the features running. So as you know from the intro, I told you about the processes, assigning processes into the Nvidia GPU. So what do I mean by that? Well, in order to do that, we need to make sure that the RTX 4060 work on something. If the RTX 4060 doesn't have any processes, well, it's just going to spaz out. It's just going to go crazy because it has nothing to do. And for some reason, some invisible software that I couldn't even see in Nvidia SMI is constantly waking this GPU up. I've tried many things, such as configuring HW info to not wake the GPU from sleep. As you can see, if I click on settings, I would disable this and it still wouldn't work. So you want to go to performance, actually not performance, processes, my bad, and then you want to select here, right? Now if you don't see the GPU column, what you need to do is I think a right click, yes, right click one of these, and then you want to select GPU and quite possibly GPU engine, and then you want to click on the drop down. As you could see, Windows Explorer right here, well, it's kind of moving around, it's assigned to GPU 0. So what is GPU 0? Well, GPU 0 is of course the Nvidia RTX 4060 laptop GPU. So what I would do is I would take a background process. So you need a background process that is constantly using the GPU. So I found out that Windows Explorer is the one that's constantly using the GPU, and I'll open the file location. Now, since you have the file location open, what you need to do is basically type in graphics settings. So here in the graphics settings, you want to open it up and you want to add a desktop app. So you want to go back to the Windows directory, and you want to left click and then press Control+C, and not Control+C, Control+C. You want to copy this, or you could right click and press copy, and then you want to go back and click on Add Desktop App. You want to click up here, you want to press Control+V, or you could just right click and click place, then press this, and then you want to press explorer.exe. Then you want to scroll down until you find Windows Explorer, and then you want to assign the GPU preference to high performance, or of course your DGPU. This will allow for the RTX 4060 to constantly use a background process. So you would do this. I genuinely believe that you should at least have maybe around 2 background processes, because I did the same thing to application frame host, and this is the directory to that. And I also did the same to one of my proprietary programs, which is Omen Command Center. Now, if you don't have an HP laptop, you don't need this. But if you do have an HP Victus laptop or an Omen laptop, you need to add something like this. So, just right click, Omen Gaming Hub, or just find its directory. You could do that by going to add Microsoft Store app, and you just like scroll down and you just click here. So in order to find out if in fact the 4060s or any other Nvidia GPUs using the background processes, what you need to do is basically type in Nvidia-SMI, and then you press enter. And as you can see, when you look it down in the processes, it's using the processes that you assign basically. So it's using explorer.exe. This one is constantly used. It's genuinely recommended to always go for explorer.exe, because that's the one that's constantly using the GPU 24/7. And I also got the HP Omen Command Center, MH Web View, and all this other stuff. And as you can see, if you go up here, you would see that the 4060 is using the P8 power state. So that means that's one of the lowest power states, and it's using around 3 watts. And mind you, I'm actually I'm using the AC adapter, the plug. I plugged in my laptop, and it's still using 3 watts. The GPU is not using a lot. And a matter of fact, I'm also using OBS with it, and it's not using a lot. So if this works for you, this is great, and I hope you guys would find this tutorial helpful. You could share this video to everyone else, and leave a like, and subscribe if you want to see more content like this, because I love to post solutions to problems that probably never been solved, because I really wanted to use this. I wanted to use the latest drivers, the latest IGPU and GPU drivers, without resorting to drivers from last year or the year before that. And I'm glad that I never had a battery problem ever again. So again, thank you guys so much for watching this tutorial. And if you have any other tips about this, if you have any other helpful things to share about, just remember, just leave it down in the comments, and I'll definitely read it. And a matter of fact, if it's really helpful, I'll pin it as well. So again, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.